Hello there guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today is a fun day because we're going to discuss a little bit more No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again. So I'm definitely working extra hard every time I talk about the game to not call it No More Heroes 3. I want to throw that 3 into the title so badly, mostly because as a fan I just kind of wish it was called Part 3. But like I discussed on my video when the game was first revealed, really it doesn't matter. It's the third No More Heroes game. Travis is returning for his third adventure, so it's really just fine. It's just, I just feel like it wants to roll off my tongue every time I say No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again. But beyond all that fun stuff, what I wanted to do is discuss a little bit further what we currently know about the game, what information has come out, what Suda51 himself has said about the game, and some of the official concept art that's been revealed that really not enough people have been paying attention to, because I think it sort of gives us a pretty interesting possible glimpse into what might be happening with Travis in this game, what sort of mechanics or concepts or ideas might be the focal point, and ultimately what to possibly expect. So let's address the biggest elephant in the room first, and talk about what we might be able to expect from the gameplay. Now, this has been the biggest deal, the big to-do as far as what people are thinking or expecting from the game. I spent a lot of my first video on this game discussing the ideas that they first told us about 6 indie-inspired levels, and if that sounds like it might be potentially a different No More Heroes experience than a lot of us have probably been waiting for these last 6 or 7 years since No More Heroes 2, and what I did discuss in that video is the fact that it's possible it might be that, which would be disappointing, but also very possible that it wouldn't be that, and it would turn out to be exactly what we want. And luckily, in the days following that reveal of the game, Suda51 has had a couple of interviews. The one that's probably had the most notoriety and attention paid to it seems to be the Game Explain one, that I know they have a whole video on their YouTube channel with them interviewing Suda51, which is great. I'm so glad to see that Suda was doing so many rounds of interviews and discussions with the press about the game. I love that it wasn't just, here's a reveal trailer, and then like initial silence, going dark, and then we were just left to wonder about it for who knows how long. It's been really great to see him be so vocal about the game and so excited to talk about the project, and we've gotten some pretty good information. So there's 3 main things that seem to be the most important bullet points that I want to touch on and hit on. I'm going to link a Reddit page below that I found that has kind of a summation of the interview. I thought that it would be better for people to look at it because it kind of just puts it in word form as opposed to having to go through the whole video, although I recommend watching the video. It's just good to see the interview and hear it. But regardless, there's 3 main points I want to touch on, and why I think it gives us a good idea of what we can expect from this game, and why I think it's going to all work out well, and how I think this indie-inspired sort of weird No More Heroes game could work. So one of the main things is that this is confirmation that this will be the first time Suda himself has actually directed a game since the original No More Heroes, which was 10 years ago, 2007 on the Nintendo Wii. And, you know, even No More Heroes 2, he didn't direct. Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw Killer is Dead. All these other projects and things that have come out of Grasshopper Manufacture and from Suda's studio, he's been producing and working with, but he hasn't exactly directed a game. And I have to admit, I actually thought he did direct both No More Heroes 1 and 2, and so it's interesting to learn that he didn't direct the second game. For some reason, either I missed that or just forgot it because it's been so long, but officially Travis Strikes Again will be his first time returning to the director's chair, and old school No More Heroes fans should be very, very excited about that. I'm really, really glad. Now, the most important thing we're going to talk about on this whole video is this right here, and again, this is per this Reddit post that kind of puts into word form what's happening here. So I'm going to read this verbatim from this Reddit post. It says, the gameplay will be, quote, sword-based action games similar to the first 2 games, and while the concept and controls will stay the same among the 6 games Travis will visit, which is a key component here, each game will have its own vibe, will be different about how they look and feel. Building on that, the third bullet point that I wanted to touch on, again, the collaboration with the indies aren't necessarily about the levels themselves, or the gameplay. What they wanted to do was show that Travis is a hardcore gamer, so Travis won't necessarily play these indie games or fight the characters. Travis will have different t-shirts featuring the games, for example, and Shovel Knight is going to be one of them. Plans aren't concrete, as there may be many instances where Travis will interact with the indie games like Hotline Miami. So again, this is all per that Reddit post. Please check it out below. So those last 2 bullet points really kind of work together. At the end of the day, This really, I think, confirms, and I speculated this on my video as well, that we really aren't going to be looking at probably a bunch of different mini games and like little weird indie kind of experience. The gameplay is sword-based action. That's exactly what the first two games were. And as I pointed out on my first video, the revelation I had in my brain, which really calmed me down as far as my worries, was that this game is being developed in Unreal Engine 4. And while Unreal Engine 4 could be used to make something like a bunch of retro-themed indie-style minigames, like it's entirely possible, to me, I don't think that that's what they would use it for. If a No More Heroes game is going to be using Unreal Engine 4 in 2017, it's because it's going to be a 3D action, sword-based combat kind of game, just like the first two games were. And so it's all coming together. Suda51 himself has basically told us, hey, it's a regular old No More Heroes game, that's what we can expect. And the indies kind of thing is really something that they're using as more of ideas or themes or the worlds that Travis is going to be traveling to. So how can this all work? That's something I also was really excited to talk with you guys about today as a super huge hardcore No More Heroes fan, is how can we expect to see this new game and all of these indie companies and indie games all kind of come together and still be a No More Heroes game? And it's actually kind of simple, and I think that not enough people have been thinking about or explaining how something like this could work. Given the fact, I will remind you guys, before we had the clarification, there was always the possibility that this turned out to be exactly what we didn't want. The minigame, indie game sort of thing that would have just been not a true No More Heroes game. But now that we know for sure, what I think we can expect is it's literally going to be similar to in No More Heroes 2, where you have the Santa Destroy map that allows you to pick which missions and which areas of the city you want to go to, and then you're dropped into this huge mission with a bunch of places to go, 3D action combat, and you're going through the mission, accomplishing things, fighting enemies, and then eventually fighting a boss. Same thing. I think we're just looking at 6 worlds, 6 missions, or levels that could very possibly be as big as some of the biggest parts of the first two No More Heroes games, with a lot of places to go, but the world itself will be themed like a Shovel Knight, like a Hotline Miami, like a whatever else kind of team were to team with them, I don't know, the Limbo guys or whatever, and you're going to be in a 3D environment that's going to still be like what a Hotline Miami game is. You got to take that retro, you have to kind of stretch your imagination at this point in the game with so little information out there. Picture that 2D retro, you know, Hotline Miami style graphics and game, but then convert it into a 3D space, basically, using Unreal Engine 4 with Travis Touchdown. And suddenly when you start to think about 6 different themed levels like that, going from the retro indie style into a huge, not open world, but a huge open space 3D sort of map, level to level with unique bosses and enemies within them, that's pretty cool. And it definitely feels like a No More Heroes Travis Touchdown experience. I mean, building off of what the first two games set up, and they kind of got kookier and kookier as they went. Now, all of a sudden, we're dealing with this weird Phantom MK2X console, whatever it was called. I don't remember the name, and I don't have it in front of me. But this Phantom console is kind of bringing in this, like, sci-fi sort of magic-y element into the series and into the story. And it's fine, man. That's the Suda way. That's the No More Heroes way. So I feel like what we're going to see is exactly what we want. Beam Katana action, 3D engine, with themed levels and enemies and bosses that are just like indie games. And I think that it's a really unique idea. It should also be noted that through the interview, something else that Suda confirmed is that they're basically at PAX this week working with indie developers and talking to indie developers to get them on board with this game. They have a smaller team this time around than they did with No More Heroes 2. And it seems like we're in fairly early stages of this game. I think that it's going to still hopefully make the date of next year, 2018, probably near the end of the year. But it's interesting to note that they've got 2 companies and games on board with Shovel Knight and Hotline Miami and their respective companies. And obviously there's a couple of other companies that I think they're having very good success at PAX, recruiting other companies in their games to become the other 4 worlds of this game, and whatever other ideas might show up in it. So that's kind of where it sounds like they are in the development process, fairly early on, probably in some of the earlier pre-production and model building and all that stuff. So expect this game to be out like in a year. It's not going to be coming out in the first quarter of 2018, you guys. It's a year off, maybe even longer. Honestly, it sounds like it's so early in the game that it might still get delayed to 2019. We'll have to see. But I thought it was important to bring that stuff up so we all kind of know really where they're at. Now here's the last stuff I want to touch on really quickly, and it's this concept art that, like I said, a lot of people really haven't been talking about, but they have released official concept art for this game that give us some pretty interesting nuggets, I feel. And so I kind of want to go through these with you guys a little bit. The first thing they did is show off an official concept art design for Travis Touchdown, which you're looking at here. And he looks great. He looks like a newer, modern 2017 No More Heroes game version of Travis, you know, an evolution of all the previous Travises we've seen. And what you'll notice here is his glove. No one has really been talking about this, and it's like, dude, he's holding his glove right up to the camera, and his glove looks really unique. I mean, it looks like a power glove. It literally looks like an old school power glove. There's buttons and controls and something weird going on. He's not wearing it on both hands. He's just holding it, wearing it on this one, and he's holding it up to the camera. So that's some interesting stuff. What's going on with that glove? Well, another piece of concept art they released is exactly this, a close-up shot of this glove. And like, it looks pretty important. It even calls right there, No More Heroes Travis Power Glove. Like, this is going to be a core mechanic to the game. Whatever this thing means or does is going to be a huge component. It could be part of the thing that allows Travis to travel into the console between the games and the worlds. Maybe it's nothing more than just like a navigation device that's actually allowing him to interact with video game worlds and not the real world. It could also very much be a huge combat mechanic. Maybe it allows him to do certain moves or certain special moves or power himself up temporarily, or maybe you can level this up to have long range attacks and he can, like Iron Man style, shoot stuff out of his glove, or who knows, maybe he can even transform. He's done that in other games. This glove is going to be a big deal, you guys. Pay attention to it, make note of it right here and now. Something about Travis's power glove in this third No More Heroes game is going to be huge to the gameplay and huge to Travis, and I'm really excited to learn what it's going to be about. The other really important thing to take note of is these weird two pictures of this camping sort of area, this camping scenery, and this camper. And there's a night and day version. You're looking at the day version here. And then let's take a look at the night version. And you see Travis sitting by a campfire, and the camper's open, and there's a bunch of stuff there. So I think this means one of two things. This is possibly the hub for the game. Maybe this is where Travis hangs out, and is the equivalent of like his apartment in the first game. That was a very big deal, is that hub where he had a refrigerator and a TV. And this might be where he levels up and changes his clothes. It looks like there's a closet and a little store to buy stuff there or something. And I mean, whatever that is, maybe it's his house. It's something. The campfire could be where you save as opposed to the toilet in the first game. You know, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I'm seeing here. Or it could be a hub that's not meant to be like Travis's home. It could just be a place that he finds throughout the world, and it's a place he goes back to travel to buy things, or to rest, level up, save the game, whatever. It's going to be one of those two things. Either the equivalent to his apartment, or the equivalent to a store. Maybe this is where he buys newer, better beam katanas. Something's going on here. It's important to notice. Also, if we go back to this day picture, you'll notice this weird silhouette of what looks like Travis's bike. Because Travis very famously had this ridiculous, unwieldy, huge, insane, like futuristic bike, like motorcycle that he used to get around the world, especially in that first game. And to me, that's what that looks like. This is probably where he parks his bike, or maybe he can even get the bike from this area. So some cool stuff happening here. There's been a couple of other character-related art for other characters that there's not enough for us to go on that I really want to talk about at this point. Just a couple of other neat concept art pieces that I'll show you here. This weird little skull stone thing. This like stone mechanical weird hand thing. There's something going on here, maybe in relation to Travis's glove. And then this weird eyeball thing that has like a barcode on it, some sort of who knows what. I mean, you know, if you know how the first two games played out, if you understand the world and the universe of Santa Destroy and No More Heroes, and you understand what the bosses were and how over the top and insane they were with weird gadgets and robot things, all of this stuff, who knows what it could be, man. It's very interesting. And I think that this could be stuff that relates to some of the bosses we'll fight, some of the locations we go to. Maybe you have to do video gamey type things and find relics within these worlds that would be like a normal video game relic you have to find to achieve a goal. And that's what some of this stuff is. I mean, it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun to see them releasing this stuff. I'm really glad that Grasshopper and Suda are releasing some of these things in the wake of the announcement, so that we have some tidbits to pour over and possible elements and secrets of the games to uncover. So the last thing we need to talk about, pretty important really quickly, is the voice acting situation. So it has also since been confirmed that Suda and Grasshopper did not approach the original voice actor for Travis Touchdown, whose name is Robin Atkins Downs, I believe. And this fellow, who is so good as Travis Touchdown in the first two games, is, as of right now, not the guy. That is not Travis in the trailer. That's not planned to be Travis going forward. And there's been a lot of discussion about this. It's incredibly sad. For me, someone who is so attached to Travis Touchdown, the character, and thinks that his voice and his delivery and performance in those first 2 games is a huge part of why Travis is such a great and memorable character. It absolutely crushes me to know that he is, as of right now, not the voice, and probably not going to be. I mean, it may change, but right now, that's the case. A lot of people discussing this. Here's what I'll say. Absolutely, in a perfect world, I want this fellow, Robin, to be the voice of Travis Touchdown again, because he is Travis. That being said, I will freely admit, in the reveal trailer, I did not think I was listening to a different voice actor, and I went back and listened to it 2 more times, and I can confirm that worst case scenario, this is not ideal, but worst case scenario, the guy who's doing it in the trailer, if he were to become the final version of Travis in the game, I think he's going to do an okay enough job. And I feel like it can feel seamless enough if you don't remind yourself and pay attention to the fact that it's a different guy. I think it's going to hopefully feel like the same Travis throughout all 3 games, especially if Travis is written the same way as he was in the first 2 games. And Suda's behind all the games, so I think we can feel pretty comfortable that the normal Travis that we're used to is still going to be the Travis in this game. It's going to sound a little bit different. We know a different guy might be doing it, but if he acts and speaks and says the same kinds of things that feel organically like Travis, I think it's going to be okay. But I do have to say, to my man Robin, you were amazing as Travis, and I really hope that somehow fortunes change. If we're early enough in development that they could still decide to bring Robin back on board, that would be great. This, hashtag performance matters voice actor sort of strike thing that's been going on for the last year is, I think, a big deal and part of the reason why this is the way it is as of right now. I don't know the details of this sort of situation, so I don't want to speak on it like I have the authority to. All I can say is I love the original guy. I would love to see him come back. But the new guy, based on the trailer, seems to be okay, so we'll cross our fingers for Robin to return. But I feel like overall, Travis is in pretty good hands. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. I realized this whole time I didn't even have my No More Heroes games sitting out like I did for the last video, which I like to do. If that's the game I'm talking about, I'm proud to own the first 2 games, and some other Suda51 games, so I should have had them out, and it dawned on me right here at the end of the video. So anyway, yeah, interesting stuff. It's great to see a lot of confirmations of details and information from Suda, letting us know what the gameplay is going to be like, all coming after this reveal. Like I said, so many times in the gaming industry we'll see a reveal like this. Last of Us 2 is a good recent example, and then the game just goes away, and we have to wait another year or 2 before we hear from it again. I think that's going to be the same case with Metroid Prime 4, for example. But that's just what happens. Luckily, that's not what happened this time. Suda was ready to give us details and do interviews, and they were ready to release this concept art to give us some stuff to kind of go on for now. So, really exciting time. Travis is coming back, a 3rd No More Heroes game. It's going to be the greatest thing, like, almost ever, and I just can't wait. So what do you guys think about the details, the gameplay we can expect, the indie situation, all the concept art that I went over, Travis's Power Glove? Really interesting stuff, and I want to hear you guys discuss and know what you think about it all. So that will be it for me today. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I will catch you next time on another video.